Hi everyone, how are you? It is Dr. Emily, functional podiatrist, human movement specialist, founder of EBFA Global, and inventor of Naboso. So today we are going to speak about a topic that I love to speak about, and that is sensory stacking. So just like you can take vitamin stacks and probiotic stacks, you can stack your sensory system to get even more activation out of your brain. So the senses that we're going to be stacking is going to be our visual, our vestibular or the auditory system, your tactile, and your proprioceptive. So when you're thinking of optimizing movement, optimizing balance, and to get a little bit more out of your exercise as a rehab, you always want to ask yourself, how much sensory stimulation am I bringing in? Am I accessing and stimulating as many of the sensory systems as I can? This is one of the reasons why I'm such a huge proponent of barefoot stimulation. So again, our four systems that we're going to be stacking today when we think about our exercises is going to be the visual, the auditory or the vestibular, your tactile, hands and feet, and then your proprioceptive system. So some ways that you can start to activate the auditory or the visual system when you're doing your exercises is going to be, let's say I'm doing a step and I'm stepping up, and maybe my client has a little bit of decreased sensation to their feet. I'm going to have them do step ups onto a box or a block that has the Naboso texture on it. So now I'm bringing in tactile with the visual I'm going to speak about now. So they're looking at a mirror and they're looking at their body, their foot, the step in the mirror. And every time they step onto the step, they see their foot in the mirror and they feel the texture of the Naboso at the same time. When you combine input systems simultaneously, you get higher brain activation. So looking at the foot, stepping onto the Naboso while feeling the Naboso through the feet is going to stack and get even more activation. Another way that you could think about this is that when I have something in my hand, I have the Neuro Ball right now. I'm stimulating tactile through my hand, but I'm actually going to look at the ball as I feel the texture. So I'm looking visual, feeling tactile. And then maybe if I do anything where I turn my head and I'm looking back and then I'm coming forward, I'm looking back, right? I'm combining that visual with the tactile. Really, really powerful. So I like to do it in mirrors, but I also like to look at the object. Now, if you're doing something like the step up that I gave the example, I like to use the mirror instead of actually looking down at it, because then it just changes the ergonomics. And we try to keep people to have that good head on the horizon position. You don't want your clients to be looking down at their feet, especially those that have movement disorders, because it can start to create a little bit of instability. So we're doing it through that mirror. Now, another way that you can combine the tactile with some of the other input system is going to be eye movement exercises. So when I'm doing eye movement exercises, I did a video last week on this, is I want you to be bringing in sensory stimulation. So you're holding the tactile ball, the Neuro Ball in your hands. You're barefoot on a Naboso mat, and then you're doing your eye movement exercises. Then you're doing your tracking. Maybe your head turn with your eyes. Whoop! Now we just added in the vestibular system as well. So this is how we want to be thinking about getting as many of those sensory systems at the same time. Now, we haven't spoken yet about the proprioceptive, so let's bring that guy into the party. The way that you can stimulate the proprioceptive, some great ways is going to be through kinesiology tape, right? So let's say if I was doing some balance exercises. Yeah, so if we're doing balance exercises, standing on one leg, I'm going to do some K-tape or rock tape around the medial and the lateral aspect of the ankle. So that's starting to bring in the superficial fascial stimulation of the proprioceptive system. So now as their foot kind of wobbles back and forth, that tape is going to start stimulating their proprioceptive system. Now they're balancing on one leg and they're barefoot on the Naboso standing mat. They have the hand holding the Neuro Ball, more tactile, and then maybe they're doing their eye movement exercises that way. Great, I just got 4 systems into one exercise. Love it. Another way that you can bring in the proprioceptive system is by using compression. So I love to use compression sleeves, compression apparel. Let's say you have someone who had a stroke and on the right side of the body, they have a little bit of weakness and disconnection from the nervous system. You could do a sleeve, a compressive arm sleeve on the right side, and then a compressive lower leg sleeve on the right side to help them connect to the right side of the body and bring in more of that sensory stimulation. Another way that I love to get into the proprioceptive system is going to be through weight and resistance. So this is going to be wrist weights. So I'm going to have them have something on their limb. So they have the weights. They have the weight maybe around an ankle weight. So let's go back to our step in the beginning. Okay. So what we have is we're looking in the mirror, visual. We're going to be stepping up onto a step barefoot with the Naboso texture on top of that step. I have an ankle weight around my ankle to give me more proprioceptive feedback. And maybe I have a compression sleeve on my lower leg as well. Boom, why not? Okay, we're holding the Neuro Ball in our hands and we are stepping up onto that step. Okay, so we're stacking as much sensory input as we can. Let's go for another stimulus. Let's talk about our auditory, right? So we reference the ears, the vestibular, when we turn our head, right? So that's part of the ear system, but there's also sound. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm the coach or the trainer. Every time my client steps up onto that step and they see their foot hitting the step and they feel the Naboso texture, right? So we're stacking. I'm going to do something auditory. So their foot touches it, boom, right? I just gave you an auditory stimulus to then reinforce to your nervous system that foot, ground, I hear the sound, I feel the texture, I see the texture, I see my foot, and I feel the texture in my hand. Yes, so we're bringing in as much of that as we can. There are some other ways that you can bring that in. If you could think of, you're walking across the bubble wrap that you like to pop, right? So if you have that, and you could actually put that, here's a product for you. You could put the bubble wrap under the step. So then as they step up, they feel the Naboso texture. They see their feet hitting the texture. They feel the texture. The hand is on the Neuro Ball, right? And then they step, and guess what? They get the pop of the bubble wrap as they step down. Boom, we just gave it an auditory signal, right? So what we're trying to do is bring in as much sensory stimulation as possible. What this concept of sensory stacking is built around is that your somatosensory cortex of the brain, this is where all that sensory information is coming in, is deeply connected to your auditory and your visual. So it's called A1 and V1, and then your somatosensory, your primary somatosensory cortex, is S1 sensory, M1 motor. So S1 and A1 and V1 all start to stack with each other, and they get more lit up when you get more people part of the party. And the end result is that M1, the motor, right, is highly activated. So I encourage you guys, when you're looking at your exercises for your clients, or maybe some of your rehab with patients, you're trying to reduce falls and improve balance, you work with athletes, you're working with children. Think about those 4 sensory input systems. Think about how you can stack them and combine them and understand them in a really innovative way, and then really see how you can get even more out of your programming. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you want to learn more about sensory stacking and our sensory system, please do check out naboso.com, as well as my practice, which is dremilyspickle.com. And we got a lot of exciting stuff coming for you guys soon through Naboso. We got a new product, so stay tuned. That is releasing soon. And of course, I have my book, Sensory Sapiens, which is coming out soon as well. Thank you guys so much, and have an amazing day.